We play for our schools, teammates, fans, families, and alums.
Lowney walks in, fires,
he scores!
We play for our jerseys. We play for our league.
In and across the line, kicks it to his forehand, swings it back over, scores!
We play with passion and pride.
65 minutes, we stay together.
We are yesterday's heroes. We are today's champions. We are tomorrow's legends.
WCHA champions!
We are the WCHA. Tradition starts here.
Coming up on this episode of Inside the WCHA, we are joined by Ferris State goaltender Justin Kapellmaster and Bowling Green forward Mitch McLean to talk about their team's recent success. Plus, USCHO blogger Sean Shapiro gives us his thoughts on all things WCHA. And of course, we'll take a look at highlights and stats from this past weekend and preview all of the upcoming games around the league. Before we get started tonight, let's take a look at some of the headlines for this week. The WCHA continues to be represented by its Minnesota contingent in this week's USCHO.com and USA Today polls, with Bemidji State climbing to number 10 and Minnesota State moving up a spot to 14. 4 WCHA teams are in the top 15 nationally for winning percentage during the month of November. The Beavers have continued to roll, reaching double-digit wins faster than any other season. At 11-2-1, the Beavers tie for the NCAA lead with number 8 Penn State for most wins in the NCAA and rank second with an 8-2-1 winning percentage. Just a third of the way through the season, teams are combining to score 5.38 goals per league game, up 8% from the final 2015-2016 tally of 4.98 per contest. Hello everybody and welcome to this edition of Inside the WCHA, and a happy Thanksgiving to you all. I'm your host, Ryan Kassenschmidt, joined once again by Andrew Jelkin. And this week marks the 9th week in the college hockey season, but one thing hasn't changed this week, and that is that Bemidji State is atop the WCHA standings.
Bemidji State does still hold a very comfortable lead over second place Michigan Tech. The middle of the pack is where things get interesting. Only 5 points separate the 3rd through 8th place teams. With a lot of teams having the weekend off of WCHA play, Bowling Green will look to jump ahead of 3rd place Minnesota State. There's still a lot of season left to be played, so anything can happen. Other than 1st place Bemidji, positioning is completely up for grabs coming down the home stretch of the first half of the season.
Now that we've taken a look at the standings, let's get into some of the wins and losses that caused those position changes, starting with Northern Michigan and Bemidji State. Friday night, Northern Michigan freshman defenseman Philip Bolio got his first career goal to open up the scoring. The Beavers responded less than a minute later, courtesy of forward Brendan Harms. Jerry Fitzgerald gave the Beavers the decider with his 5th goal of the year with less than 5 minutes to play in the opening period. From there, Michael Bitzer held off the Wildcats for the 2-1 Beaver victory. Saturday night, Harms tied the WCHA record with 4 assists in the first period alone. Philip Marinaccio scored twice in the first 3 minutes, and Jerry Fitzgerald and Nate Arntz also found the back of the net. Miles Fitzgerald stretched the lead to 5-0 before the Wildcats would push back late with scores from Bolio and Casey Perper.
Ferris State was able to jump into the thick of the WCHA race with its first series sweep of the season over Lake Superior State. Friday night, Ferris State freshman goaltender Justin Kapellmaster earned his first collegiate shutout, making a career-high 40 saves in a 3-0 victory for the Bulldogs. Gerald Mayhew, Craig Peffley, and Mitch Maloney provided the scoring for the Bulldogs. Saturday night, the Lamp was busy from the opening face-off all the way to the final horn as the teams combined for 12 goals. The Bulldogs got on the board first with a shorthanded strike by freshman Nate Callan. The Lakers would strike back a few minutes later as freshman Luke Morgan got his first career goal, but just 8 seconds later, Chad McDonald scored a breakaway goal off the faceoff to put FSU ahead. After a long back-and-forth affair, Ferris State came away with a 7-5 win.
We're now joined by Justin Kappelmaster, goalkeeper for the Ferris State Bulldogs. Great to have you on today, Justin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, you're fresh to NCAA college hockey. You're coming in from the juniors. You're only a freshman. How does college hockey compare to playing in the juniors?
Oh, it's definitely a big step. I mean, every time you move up a step in hockey, it's big. And obviously, the jump to I was playing in the North American League last year. Obviously, the jump from North American to NCAA Division I, it's pretty big. But like any other league, you get used to it, and you play games and you play more games and you get more used to it, and as you play more games, you get more comfortable.
Now, a few weeks back, you got your first action against Minnesota State, and the very next night, you got your first call to start between the pipes. What's going through your head as you're getting ready for your first collegiate action?
It's always a little nerve-wracking, but I think especially coming off the bench that first game, coming in relief for Darren Smith was pretty tough. But I got a few shots on net, felt comfortable, and after that, it was basically smooth sailing. And then hoped I got the start the next night. I ended up doing that, and it was a close game. I think our team was pulling a shutout till about 4 minutes left, and I think Minnesota State scored 3 goals in the span of like 4 minutes, which was a little hectic, but we were able to get the win, which was really good to get the first win under the belt like that. And the team played really well in front of me, which was good.
Justin, you've won all 5 games you started thus far this year, and your save percentage is near the top in the conference, as well as your goals allowed average. And so I'm just wondering, what's the secret to you and your team's success so far?
I don't know. To be honest, I think, my team has been playing really well when I've been in net, and they've been showing me a lot of support, definitely in the back end. We have a really, really young defensive core this year. So I think, the first, bunch of games during the year was a little tough start and whatnot. And like I said, I've just been trying to play my best every single game that I've been able to start this year. And I've been lucky enough to do that. And, our team has been just playing really, really well in front of me. There's been some games, like this past week, and I had 40 some odd shots on net or whatever it was. And, I just had to keep my composure and, do what I had to do. But overall, I'm really happy how it's going thus far. And I'm really happy that my team's supporting me like they are.
You've got a couple tough opponents coming up with Minnesota State and Alabama Huntsville. Now, those are 2 teams you've already faced thus far this season. So what do you have to do as a team in order to better prepare for yourselves for these familiar opponents and in order to keep this momentum building?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good test for us. We're on a little roll right now, I guess you could say, and we got a little break off going into Thanksgiving. A few injuries. Some of the boys will get back to full strength, but Huntsville, that was our first weekend we played against them, and it was a tough weekend for us. But I think we'll be able to get back on track with them. I think we're definitely a different team than we were back then. I think we got a lot more confidence, and then just like Minnesota State, they're a really good team too, and I think we had a split weekend with them when we went up there. And we just got to keep doing what we're doing. We got to have confidence that everybody who's in the lineup that day is going to perform, and if my team has confidence in me, I'm going to do what I have to do in the net.
Friday evening, Michigan Tech jumped out to a 2-0 lead off the sticks of Shane Hanna and Joel Esperance. Seawolves forward Mason Mitchell cut the lead in half at the 3:59 mark of the second before teammate Brad Dewey tied things up 20 minutes later with his 3rd goal of the season. The Huskies were able to strike last in this one as freshman Alex Smith snapped the tie with the game winner at the 10:14 mark of the 3rd period. The Huskies got on the board first again on Saturday night, this time 4:48 into the 2nd period, with a power play goal by freshman Gavin Gold. Then, in the opening minutes of the 3rd, UAA's Jonah Rainoff tied the game up with a power play strike. Following scoreless 5-on-5 and 3-on-3 overtime periods, UAA freshman Alexi Analai scored the lone shootout goal to give the Seawolves
Bowling
the extra
Green
point.
continued its surge up the conference standings, using a pair of 3rd period outbursts to capture a road sweep over Alabama Huntsville. Friday, the home team started out the scoring when Charger defenseman Kurt Gosselin scored halfway through the 2nd period. Trailing 1-0 heading into the 3rd period, the Falcons came out charging as Pierre-Luc Mercier tied things up just 2 minutes into the frame. Tyler Spezia snapped the tie with the game winner at the 9:15 mark while Mercier and John Schilling added insurance goals for the 4-1 win. 2 second-period goals by Mitch McLean countered tallies from the Chargers' Austin Bolio and Brandon Parker to create a 2-2 tie heading into the third period of Saturday's contest. Josh Kestner gave UAH a 3-2 lead early in the third, but it was all Falcons after that. Tyler Spezia tied the game, Brett DeAndrea scored the game winner, Kevin Dufour scored twice, Lucas Craggs found the back of the net, and McLean completed the hat trick. We're now joined by Mitch McLean, forward for Bowling Green. Last Saturday, you were able to put up a hat trick against Alabama Huntsville, and offensively, you guys had 8 goals on the night. What led to your guys' success on offense?
I think the night before we talked about getting in front of the net and bearing down in front of the net on second chance opportunities, and it was just one of those nights where we got some good bounces, but we were working for those bounces, and taking away the eyes of the goalie and being ready around the net really obviously helped us.
You guys are 6-1 in your last 7 games, building a lot of momentum right now. How do you guys want to carry that into the next 4 WCHA series before the holiday break?
You know, we went through our struggles early, and we just kept staying with what we were doing, and we knew the results would come. We knew what kind of team we were, and that's all we got to do now is we just got to stay positive, come to work every day, and stick with our own process. And I think we're going to be successful if we do that.
Heading into the rest of the season, then, what are your goals as far as the end of the year comes for your team?
I mean, obviously, we want to compete for a regular season championship and then win the playoffs. I mean, that's every team's goal, and get into the NCAA tournament where anything can really happen in one game elimination series. But we're just going to take it day by day and see where we're at the end of the year, and then playoff time, we're going to make a push.
All right, thank you for joining us, Mitch.
All right, thank you.
Friday night, junior forwards Brad McClure and C.J. Franklin got goals late in the first period to put MSU up 2-0 against the University of Minnesota. The Gophers would cut the lead in half right out of the second period gate, but Mavericks' offense was too much as McClure and Parker Tuomi finished off the scoring late in the second for the 4-1 triumph. Saturday night proved to be a goaltenders' duel in Minneapolis, with the Gophers getting the lone goal in the second period. Pawlowski had an impressive 37-save performance, but his team couldn't produce any goals from its 33 shots. A lot of good action this past weekend, Andrew. Some really good goalie performances as well as some overtime shootouts. What were your takeaways from this weekend's play?
You know, I thought it was really cool to be able to see those new WCHA shootout rules come into effect. Really fun for the fan experience as well. I was really impressed with the way Bemidji State just continues to roll this year. It's going to be tough for anybody to catch them the way they're playing. I do like the way that Bowling Green has kind of rebounded after that slow start they had this year. Last few games, last few series, they've been playing a lot better.
Lots of good WCHA action this past weekend, Andrew. Coming up after the break, we'll bring to you who the WCHA Players of the Week were, as well as an interview with WCHA columnist Sean Shapiro. Stay tuned.
Inside the WCHA is brought to you by BLC Studios, a division of Bethany Lutheran College. For more information, visit blc.edu.
College hockey fans, you can now watch every game, every night from your own home. From Anchorage to Alabama, Big Rapids to Bowling Green, and all points in between. All your favorite teams live on WCHA TV. Affordable season, monthly, and game day passes are available. Sign up today and don't miss a thing. Join us at WCHA.TV.
Welcome back to this Thanksgiving edition of Inside the WCHA. So far, we've looked at some of last weekend's matchups. Now let's take a look at some of the outstanding players that the WCHA decided to honor this past week.
Seems only fitting that this week's Offensive Player of the Week comes from the red-hot Beavers of Bemidji State. Senior forward Brendan Harms had a hand in 6 of Bemidji State's goals in a series sweep of Northern Michigan, leading all NCAA skaters with 5 assists and tying for the national lead with 6 points. The senior from Steinbach, Minnesota, etched his name in the WCHA record book with 4 assists in the first period alone Saturday night. The Defensive Player of the Week is Jason Polowski from Minnesota State. The sophomore from Omaha, Nebraska made 62 saves and led all WCHA goaltenders last weekend with a .969 save percentage and a 1.01 goals against average. Polowski made 25 saves in the Mavericks' 4-1 home win Friday night, then stopped a season-high 37 shots Saturday in a 1-0 loss. This week's Rookie of the Week is Ferris State goaltender Justin Kapellmaster. Kapellmaster remained unbeaten in his rookie campaign, making a WCHA high 73 saves as Ferris State notched its first sweep of the year. The freshman from Coral Springs, Florida, notched his first collegiate shutout Friday night, turning aside a career-best 40 shots. Kapellmaster then made 33 saves Saturday night, including 13 in the third period, helping Ferris State hold on for a wild 7-5 win. We're now joined by Sean Shapiro, WCHA columnist for USCHO. Sean, thanks for being on today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
With such a tight race in the WCHA so far this year, as we continue through the conference play, how do you see the standings shaping up?
Well, I think obviously the first thing that jumps out is how far ahead Bemidji is to start with 14 points. I think they're 14 points ahead of Michigan Tech right now for the top spot in the league. I know they've played 2 more games, but you can't deny they haven't lost a game in regulation this year. I think after that it starts to kind of it's pretty exciting everywhere from 2 to 8 after the Beavers on top there. I think there's Michigan Tech and Minnesota State are both strong teams. Bowling Green, I wrote about them last week. It's a team that went from kind of a bit of a rough patch to it's playing pretty well now, and they had a heavy non-conference schedule to start, and all of a sudden they've kind of figured things out a little bit more. And then I think Ferris State is also a team that when their key players are rolling, they're a pretty dangerous team. I think you start looking at how the race starts to build out. I get really excited kind of watching how are those spots going to fill out between 2 and 5, because I think we clearly have a class of the league right now, and they've proven that. And then how is the rest of their standings going to fill out? I think it's pretty exciting to watch right now.
After a slow start to the season, as you kind of mentioned, for teams like Bowling Green and Ferris State, Michigan Tech in there as well, they're all starting to hit their stride this season. As the season goes on, do you think that they're going to continue to have that success, or will we see more teams jump out and surprise us?
I think we're starting to see a little bit of who and what the contenders are right now. I think you take a look at the standings, and I think some of the teams that are near the bottom right now, the Northern Michigans, the Alaska Anchorage and Alaskas of the world right now, I think they're going to still be near the bottom as things continue to go forward. I think the Bowling Greens, the Ferris States, the Minnesota States, the Michigan Techs are going to be in the kind of that top 5 area. If there's going to be a surprise team, the team I look at, and there's 2 teams I look at that I kind of wonder who they're going to be. As there's Alabama Huntsville, who started off pretty well the year, did not have a very good weekend this past weekend against Bowling Green. And I think that's a team that if they find some consistency, they could surprise some people and kind of maybe finish in that middle tier of the pack like they haven't done before. And then there's also Lake Superior State, who is a team that there's some who I think they have the offense that can show up at times and makes them a team that could kind of jump into this, but haven't seen it consistently enough to have faith in it yet.
Offense has been really big for a lot of WCHA teams this year, but the WCHA also boasts some of the best goaltenders in the nation. When these teams match up with the heavy offense as well as the really great goaltending, who comes out on top in these matchups?
Well, I think you look at goaltending in this league, and that is really the strength of the league. You look at Michael Bitzer, who has, I think he's got a 1.34, 1.35 goals against average, and it's been fun to watch him. And there's over at Michigan Tech, Angus Redmond's had a great season as a freshman. I think of Chris Nell, Cole Huggins. I think of goalies when I think of the WCHA, and it's personal as someone who's a bit of a goalie nerd and enjoys watching good goaltending. it's fun to watch. And I think that's the type of play that is going to carry over. The teams that are built from the net out are the ones that are going to make a difference, are going to be the teams that are going to be standing near the top and close to the top standings as we go forward, because it's the one thing that is probably the hardest, and I think you see it at all levels of hockey, is consistency in goal. What can you stay consistent? And I think there's a bunch of teams in the WCHA that have strong goaltending and can be consistent, and I think that's why we're seeing the teams near the top of the standings right now, or the top standings are because of their goalies.
With 7 teams seeing action this weekend, including 2 WCHA matchups, who do you like between Alaska Anchorage and Bowling Green, and also between Michigan Tech and Alaska this weekend?
Not going to get many fans in Alaska this weekend, but I think both Michigan Tech and Bowling Green are in pretty good shape going into this weekend. I think Bowling Green is playing very well right now, coming off their sweep against Alabama Huntsville right now, and then I also think Michigan Tech's in a good spot as well. I just think the Alaska schools, there's some fight in those programs. I just don't think they're at the level right now where I would pick them in either Alaska school in those upcoming weekend series.
All right, thanks for joining us, Sean.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Coming up after the break, we'll wrap things up with a preview of all the games that are headed your way this holiday weekend. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Where is Nate Arts? Scores! Shorty for Nate Arts.
Inside the WCHA is brought to you by BLC Studios, a division of Bethany Lutheran College. For more information, visit blc.edu.
College hockey fans, you can now watch every game, every night from your own home. From Anchorage to Alabama, Big Rapids to Bowling Green, and all points in between. All your favorite teams live on WCHA TV. Affordable season, monthly, and game day passes are available. Sign up today and don't miss a thing. Join us at WCHA.TV.
All right, Andrew, even though most of the coaches and players will be enjoying Turkey this holiday weekend, let's talk Turkey about some of the games that will be going on. Alaska Anchorage makes the trek down to Ohio to take on the resurgent Falcons of Bowling Green. Michigan Tech took on the Seawolves last weekend and are staying put in the north this weekend with a matchup against the Nanooks. In a few non-conference slates, Northern Michigan will host Nebraska Omaha, Lake Superior State battles in-state rival Michigan, and Princeton takes on the number 10 ranked Bemidji State Beavers. Not as much conference action as usual this weekend, Andrew, but what are your thoughts on some of the games that are going on this weekend?
You know, it's going to be really interesting this weekend to see if Bowling Green can continue that success. They've won 6 of their last 7 games, and it's going to be interesting to see this weekend. Although there's not a lot of conference action, that's one of the series I'm really going to be keeping my eyes on.
Thank you very much for your thoughts, Andrew. And I know that I enjoy talking to you just about as much as I enjoy those turkey sandwiches that we're all going to enjoy this weekend. So have a safe and wonderful holiday weekend. But do make time to watch some of the WCHA action. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Inside the WCHA. I'm Ryan Kassenschmidt, Andrew Jonkin. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.